Good evening. I'm Mayor Figueroa, and I'm calling the regular meeting of the University Place City Council for Monday, November the 4th, 2024, to order. And we'll start with a roll call. With the city clerk, do the roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Boykin.
Here.
Councilmember Worthington.
Here.
Councilmember McCluskey.
I'm here.
Councilmember Fleming is excused. Councilmember Grassi.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Present.
Mayor Figueroa.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. And will Councilmember Grassi lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, Mayor. Would you please join me in the pledge short?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll move on to item number 4, approval of the agenda, and I'm calling for a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Any objection to approving the agenda? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. So we'll move on to item number 5, which is the presentation, a certificate of appreciation to Pierce County Sheriff's Department, and Pierce County Sheriff Ed Troyer is here to accept it. Mr. Troyer? Yep, there you are. Okay.
Where would you like me to go?
Oh, here in the front, please.
Up here?
No, over here. The spotlight.
Yeah.
This is the least hostile place.
We're not done yet.
Somebody jump out.
But you are in the spotlight here. Okay. Good to see you here. Thanks for coming out.
Hi.
Okay, so we're going to give you a minute or so after I'm done here to maybe summarize a little bit of what this certificate is for your department. It's really important for our citizens to hear from our sheriff, as well as just, the partnership that we have. So what we have here is a certificate of appreciation. The City Council of University Place expresses its deepest sorry about that, but you know about your things, right?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Did I turn that off right? No. Okay. So, the City Council of University Place expresses its deepest appreciation and gratitude to the Pierce County Sheriff's Department for its significant contributions in maintaining and building a collaborative law enforcement partnership with the City of University Place that began in 1995. The City of University Place is grateful to be a safe and desirable place for the citizens of Pierce County to live and work. The men and women of the Pierce County Sheriff's Department who have chosen to work in University Place over the past 26 years have played a critical role in safeguarding the citizens in our community. We are grateful for this continued partnership presented on November the 4th, 2024.
Very nice. Thank you. Can I lay that down?
Sure.
Pick something up and talk a little bit. Where do you want to take a picture of?
Oh, yes. Let me put this down.
I'm taking credit for this, even though I know it was Lauren Pepper and a whole bunch of other people over there.
We'll take a couple and one wider shot. Perfect. Thank you.
You know, I wore this jacket just to make sure that everybody knew from the
So I kind of did light clothes and went around a little bit. I'm week 6 into having an old knee replacement, and I underestimated.
Yes, everybody does.
If anybody's here has gone to that, yeah, it's a little bit more than. Well, first I want to say thank you. Oh, I should be in the microphone anyways. Yeah, first I want to say thank you for this. I'm just happy that we got this done while I was here because I know that we worked on it for a long time, and I know that my department cringed when I overpromised people in November, but it looks like it's really going to happen. If you don't know it, I was one of the first 2 deputies ever to work in University Place before you incorporated. Me and Jesus Villahermosa came up here, and our office was in a little a little room up in the bank on 44th and Bridgeport with a closet that they let us work out of. So that was our first office when the two of us worked up here. And I really loved it. My grandchildren live up here. My daughter lives up here. And my foster kids all went to, Curtis School District. And they're all 25 now, but they started here when they were 4 and 5. So I really love this area. What I wanted to do is talk a little bit about a few things that you're getting with this contract. Because I can't show the pictures and we don't want to give our secrets away, we're going to talk about them a little bit. That's going to come with it. So what's been really cool that we've accomplished over the last few years is, we've gone to body cams and dash cams, and what's happened by having body and dash cams, if anybody, if you look at how big our internal investigations unit used to be and how many calls they've dropped dramatically because we don't get nearly as many complaints because they know we're going to go look at the body cam and prove right away they were lying. The attorneys know that and everybody know that. So all the internal affairs, all the complaints from the public is dove. So they've been a great thing for the Sheriff's Department in Pierce County. We've hired a lot of law enforcement deputies, as other agencies like King County and Seattle have hundreds of openings. We're down to about 10. And I know we promised you, Lauren's going to get mad at me when I say this, I know we promised you by the end of 2025 some more deputies, but right now only having 10 openings and 100 people on the list, and as much as we're putting them through training, because we put a TAC officer in the academy, so we get a class every month and sometimes more, depending on retirements, we hope to get those to you sooner. And so that's the goal, because then that means our department's full, this area's full, and we're up and running and taking care of business. Some of the other things that we've done is that you're going to have automated license plate readers in all the cars with the new technology. So it's kind of like the flock system you've heard about. If a bad car is driving through the area, our deputies will pick up on the computer, burglars, thieves, wanted people, and they'll be able to know it just by the car coming through. A lot of this stuff we don't advertise because we don't want them to know that we have it. Also, seniors that disappear, wanted people, missing people, Amber Alerts, Silver Alerts, and all that can be plugged into this system. We have something called Star Chase. We're going to have a couple really cool names here, Star Chase, then the Terminator. I don't know who comes up with the names, but they're great. Star Chase is a system that we have that is mounted on the front of our patrol cars. And if a car tries to take off or is stolen or is a bad car and they're going to run, we can shoot the car with a cannon from the front of our car, and it puts a hot putty on the car and has a GPS tracking device on it. So the great thing is then we let them go. And you know what they do? They take us to their hideout. And so then sometimes we get a little bit more than just the stolen car and everything. So that comes with all the deputies are going to be up here. And then we have something called Terminator. Terminator, you know what stop sticks are, how we throw those out in front of cars? Now when we go approach suspects are parked in parking lots, slumped over or hiding, our people put those behind the wheels. And if they try and back out and take off, they're stopped immediately. So that stops people from hitting the streets and taking off and causing chaos. So that's another cool tool. And then through this last couple of years, we've developed some programs. Our SWAT team's going up to another level, to a tier level, which is federally recognized as the highest level possible for a SWAT team. Our dive team has the best equipment and underwater sonar, radar, whatever else we call everything to keep everybody safe. And I know you have a lot of waterway here, so that's all going to be to you. Our air operations is in the process of having installed the best equipment for tracking lost people, for tracking cars in our aircraft, so that's happening. When it comes to mental health services, we went from having 4 members of co-responders in our department where we ride with mental health workers, embed them with us. We went from 4, and now we have 9. And so we talk about that just being mental health being a big issue. We have them embedded with us in case something goes sideways. Sometimes it's better to have a mental health worker there. And then if you look in our corrections facility, that's actually the biggest mental health facility in Pierce County, because having 800 people there and 85+% of them being mental health issues, we have a staff of about 14 people that are mental health trained to deal with the people that are in our correctional facility. So that puts us at the biggest mental health facility in Pierce County, even bigger than Western State. So we talk about community services support. We have a new deputy that if we come across homeless, or if we come across people in need, or moms or kids, no money, living in a car, we have a deputy position now that can go take over for the other deputies, put the other deputies back to do police work, and then this person is trained in how to work with social services, some of our other teams, and try and get services for them and alternative routes in law enforcement. We have a new health and wellness program, which I don't know if you've had the chance yet to meet our health and wellness officer, exercise for the officers and better food. Not only that, but our health and wellness officer has a dog named Everest. Has Everest been here yet? Yeah, so Everest is a beautiful lab dog that has a vest on that says "Pet me," instead of "Stay away from me." And, it's always amazing when we go to different big calls and shootings and everybody's ramped up, whether it be the deputies or victims, and the dog walks in the room, you can just feel the energy drop down a little bit. So it's really been a successful program. So anyways, those are some of the new things we got going that are all going to come with this contract. And I know Jennifer Hells is a big part of this. Steve was a big part of this. And Lauren, and this is really the work that they did. It really is from me over promising and making Lauren and everybody get together. And you guys got the great police chief here that he's not going to be here long, because I know, he's probably going to be taken from you in the future to move on up. So, but we'll have somebody else good when that happens. And I know I took my more than 1 minute, but I appreciate this, and we're glad we're going to be here for the next 7 years. My family's going to continue to live here, and I love this town and area. So if you have any questions, please ask. Yeah. Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Sorry. Yeah. If it was a Pierce County Council, I'd be here for a long time. All right. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so that was very nice, and again, just to give a shout out to our staff, our chief and Jennifer and everybody else. A lot of work, a lot of time, so we do appreciate that too. Item number 6, public comments. Is there, I think I have a list. You said we have somebody signed up?
No one signed up.
No one signed up. Anybody online?
No one online.
Anyone here as member of the public that would like to come up for any comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item number 7, and that is consent agenda. I'm calling for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Are there any objections to approving the consent agenda? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And we will move on to item number 8. It's a public hearing. And it's actually the public hearing and council consideration section. And item number 8 deals with a public hearing for 2025-2026 biennium budget. Staff report is from Leslie Blaisdell, our finance director.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Leslie Blaisdell, Finance Director. Tonight is our second public hearing related to the 2025-26 proposed biennial budget. It is a balanced and conservative budget that assumes a continuation of 2024 levels of service to the community. We held 2 previous study sessions on October 7th and October 21st, and we'll have a 3rd study session later this evening. In preparing the budget, we continue to be conservative with revenue projections, and the budget currently assumes the annual statutorily allowed increases in the city's ad valorem property tax in each year of the biennium. It maintains operations at core service levels. CIP projects continue to use local dollars to leverage grants, and 3 new FTEs have been added beginning in 2025. It also includes a projected early payoff of the 2016 bond debt, which would reduce our outstanding debt by $17.1 million. On the staffing side, it includes staffing of 64.975 full-time equivalents and includes a 3.8% COLA for staff in 2025 based on the June to June CPI number. And in 2026, we estimated 4%. While we wait for next year's numbers to come out. The expenditure budget is a status quo budget for departments with a modest level of inflation that's assumed for supplies and services. It does include new item requests. $130,000 related to council goals for the biennium, and the remaining $850,000 approximately is new items requested by the departments. Much of it is for infrastructure repairs and replacements. The other item that we like to make sure gets discussed is that there's a budgeted amount of $10,000 in each year for community grants. Historically, both Tacit and Crystal Judson Family Justice Center received $3,000, and the additional $4,000 is appropriated should any additional requests come in. Like I said, this is our second public hearing to give our citizens a chance to comment on anything they've heard in previous budget meetings. And so that concludes my presentation. We will have a third public hearing on November 18th prior to council's approval of the budget.
Thank you. And courtesy for the council members, and this is a public hearing, but just to help the public hearing, for those that are actually listening and caring, is that sometimes it's helpful for to better understand, for clarification only. If anybody here would like to just clarify anything out of this budget, that would be helpful for the public to comment when they do comment. Any takers? None seen? Okay. So with that, this is an open public hearing for the 2025 biennium budget, and after this public comments, I just want to note that the public hearing for the 2025 biennium budget will continue up until its adoption on November the 18th, 2024. So do we have anybody online?
No one online, Mayor.
Is anyone present here from the public that would like to speak to the 2025-26 biennium budget? I don't see anybody coming forward, so with that, I will close the public hearing and move on to item number 9. And this is the ARPA Sewer Bid Award. We have a staff member, Neri Avkuler. I hope I pronounced that right. I need to practice that more often. He's our city manager, city engineer. I just promoted you. Well, you guys do great work. So I see you have somebody next to you. If you would please introduce that individual, it'll be appreciated, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. I'm Nuri Avcular, C pronounced like J. So, and also I have here with me our senior project engineer, Kyle Morin. And he is the one designing all the sewer projects, and he has more depth knowledge, so I just thought I would bring him just in case we have questions for him. Anyway, introductions to the site. Tonight we are bringing to you for your consideration the bid award for 2025 sewer improvements project. And this project includes construction of sanitary sewer, main, site sewers, and roadway restoration, serving 5 different neighborhoods within the city of University Place. These areas and neighborhoods to be served are depicted in your council package. I believe there's a little map shows all those locations that we are proposing to serve. We had this bid opening on October 29, 2024, and we received 8 bids, and Tucci & Sons has submitted the lowest responsible bid in the amount of $5,217,604.32 for all schedules. And the project is primarily financed through ARPA funding. In order to maximize the available ARPA funding, it's our recommendation that we award all schedules for the project. And at this time, we recommend the award of this contract to Tucci & Sons, as noted in the council bill, and also we will be happy to answer any questions you may have for the project.
Okay. Before we go to public comment, if there's any clarification specifically to this, it would be a good time. Councilmember McCluskey.
Right. Thank you, Mayor. I know we have the full budgeted amount for the ARPA funds, but we're a little short. of 200,047 and $604 and some odd change. Can you tell the public where those additional funds were coming from? Because it indicated that it was going to be fully funded.
Right. It will be, we have talked to our finance department and city engineers and Eric Faison. We looked at the different funding sources. We have some other ARPA sources. We expect to have some leftover from there. And then also, if not, I think $250,000 we have enough, and we are going to be reconciliating that coming up a few months.
Yes. Well, this is really exciting because 80% of the funds are from ARPA, and so I consider it like a 20% match to get something that we sorely need in University Place, and we've been seeking it for decades.
Definitely.
So thank you for all your efforts in putting this together and identifying the strategic areas and looking at where the best use of the funds that we have could implement and augment other infrastructures, businesses, housing developments, and so
That's
forth.
our goal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. Between these 5 areas we're serving, about how many miles of sewers roughly are we putting in, or do you have another measurement we could use?
I believe it's around 2 miles.
2 miles of sewer.
Sewer main we are going to be installing for people to make connections as they need it in the future.
Okay. And I don't know if you know the answer to this one. How many miles of sewer would we have left to do after this? Or is that just in a number we don't want to go there yet?
Any idea, Kyle?
Don't worry about
You
it.
can
Okay.
figure it out if you'd like to know, but
Just curious. That's all. Thank you.
have that knowledge.
A little ways to go, right?
Yeah.
Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor Figueroa. Question somewhat along the same line, just trying to get an idea of scale. About how many parcels or how many acres are we looking at here? Just some measurement there to give us a sense of new service area.
You were involved with the parcels counts more than I have, so
Yeah, so it looks like the total amount of parcels that I'll be able to directly connect to these new mains is about 240.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. See if I can say this correctly for clarification. I see this as an opportunity cost. I know we talked a lot about using ARPA funds and then trying to figure out the monies for it to be utilized. By not utilizing city funds beyond the ARPA funds to get all 5 projects done, what would be the opportunity cost lost if we were to wait 4 or 5 years down and it would not be part of this, and time and all that? Did you calculate that?
we looked at it. If we were not to fund all 5 projects, we would have to return some of the ARPA funds back, almost $400,000 or $500,000 that we cannot use, or we just match this $200,000 on top of that $400,000 with the ARPA funds, then we can just achieve all those 5. And it will be hard to predict what's going to be in 5 to 6 years because of the inflation. I don't think we'll be able to provide that kind of a service in 5 years for $500,000-$600,000. The dollars amount will be a lot higher.
Okay,
But
thank
we
you.
haven't done any studies to project that yet.
Thank you. I don't see any other hands, so we'll go to public comments. Anyone from the online right now?
No one online, Mayor.
Anyone present here from the public that would like to speak to the HARPA bid award? Or I should say sewer bid award. None coming forward, so we'll go to council consideration. Call for a motion to consider.
Mayor, I move to authorize the city manager to award all schedules of the 2025 sewer improvements project to Tucci & Sons in the amount of $5,217,604.32 and execute all necessary contract documents.
Second.
Okay, I'll open it up for comments, discussion, debate, all of the above. So I see a hand, Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor Figueroa. Yes, I'm excited to be able to move forward with this. I think this is a great opportunity for us to appropriately use the ARPA funds, make an investment in the community, make an investment in our infrastructure, help build the environmental protection in our community, and just really be able to move at least these 240-some parcels forward. I realize we are slightly short, but it is a small difference to make up for the opportunity it provides. I think it's something I'm ready to move forward with an affirmative vote. I would also add, in looking at these materials, we had a good competitive bid. We had, I think our materials, meaning the bid materials, likely were very well done in order to keep the bid as tight as it was, and thank you for that. And so, Mr. Murray, good effort from what I could see. Thank you. And thank you, Your Honor. I'm ready to vote whenever you call for it.
Excuse me. Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say this is a great win for our community. It's a long time coming. I know that we have a long way to go as well, but thank you for your hard work. And for the sake of the public listening and watching later, I know that a lot of consideration was put into these areas, how we defined those, listen to our residents, a lot of consideration here, thoughtful planning. And so I just want to give some background for those people that might just be tuning in for the first time. But this is a first step in many. We've talked about sewers for as long as I can remember, even before I was here, of course. So thank you for your hard work. I think this is, as Councilmember Worthington said, a good competitive bid process. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to echo the sentiments. I think that what is really, really cool is that the council has consistently looked at ways in which they could be impactful specifically in this area. So when it comes through the way that it has, it is really a celebratory moment. I have been consistent in saying that if it's just one resident that gets the benefit because of being able to move forward in this capacity, it's well worth it. Those costs can be, as we might have presumed, cost prohibitive. I'm sure it will be for some, but the goal is to make sure that we continue to move in a way that demonstrates that your council is invested in the city, as well as the folks that put in the good work and put in the good action behind it. And so really good use of ARPA funds. I know that we've got this general expectation about short-term funds for short planning impact and long-term funds for long-term impact. And this is just a really smart way to take advantage of ARPA funds. So I hope that it continues to be celebrated. I think it's a really good way forward, and just excited about being able to do this for the residents for the City of University Place. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else? Okay. City Manager Steve Sugg.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you vote, I just wanted to add that thank you, council members, for those comments. I just want to give a shout out to the engineering team, to Nuri and Kyle. But for their efforts, we wouldn't have been able to present this to you tonight, and certainly not the full package. We had Nuri and Kyle were able to bring much of this design in-house and deploy $500,000 that would have otherwise gone to consultants, and save that and use it for construction. So we're able to, their efforts, and you can see the quality of the bids, really good plans. So we have a very understated but very talented design team in-house, able to produce amazing work. So I wanted to add that it was no small feat getting to where we are tonight.
Thank you. I will make the last comments here, and that is that I do want to thank Congresswoman Marilyn Strickland for bringing as much money in ARPA funds to our city. She had a hand in it, and but on top of that, we had our options, our individual options as a city, how we would use this money for for our citizens. And I won't go through all the details, but I think that obviously this is one of the major parts of the ARPA funds. I think we received like $8-9 million and over $6 million used for this. So it's a huge step toward a major task that we've been tackling, sewers in our city. And to go ahead and not only utilize those funds for that, which was definitely a very good use of those dollars, but also the fact that we were able to be in a financial state that doesn't take away from any other services or anything else, to go ahead and fill the gap. And that gap seems a lot, it's a lot of money. How much was it? 200 and what? And so that's a lot of dough. It really is. But compared to what I mentioned, the opportunity cost of not doing it, it would be like triple that. It would be closer to $1 million instead of $250,000. So why would we put that burden on our citizens, taxpayers, to pay that just 5 years from now? It just doesn't make any sense, especially in a very important critical issue like sewers. And not only that, but opportunity costs, because a lot of this service is commercial as well as residential, and we would miss on the commercial. We all know that one of the major costs for developers to be able to afford to develop in a pro forma is infrastructure. Sewer is a huge one. So to be able to have that done and ready so that developers that want to come in and invest in our city and fill the gaps that we do, this is a huge one as far as an opportunity cost. It's been as a city that's ready to accept more development, which we do need to. So with that, I will go and, if there's no other comments, call for the vote. So will the city clerk go call for the vote, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Boykin.
Yes.
Councilmember Worthington.
Aye.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Yes.
Councilmember Grassi.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Aye.
Mayor Figueroa.
Yes.
Mayor vote results 6-0 for the ayes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, staff. And we'll move on to item number 10, and it is the city manager and council comments and reports. We'll start with the city manager, Steve Stug.
Thank you, Mayor, council, and members. Two things. From today through the 15th of November, University Place Refuse and Recycling is providing curbside oversized brush pickup. It's available to all residential customers within the University Place and Refuse Recycling area, even those without yard waste service. They just asked that residents make sure the pile that they put out there isn't in the street or blocking access to mailboxes or fire hydrants. More information could be found at the University Place Refuse and Recycling website. Again, oversized brush pickup, curbside oversized brush pickup is happening now, November 4th through the 15th. And one other item, next Monday, November 11th at 11 a.m. is the Veterans Day Memorial Ceremony at our Veterans Plaza in Cirque Park, and we look forward to that. It'll be from approximately a 45-minute ceremony. So again, that's next Monday at 11 o'clock on November 11th. And that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you. And we'll start from the left to right, and we'll start with Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, now that I've got my microphone on, I believe that you can hear me. Let me just say that due to business travel, I was regrettable that I could only provide virtual support to our council meeting, but that also prevented me from being able to participate in the Partner UP effort at Brock's Academy. So really am excited about, particularly when you've got business events that come together. One of the things I think we continuously have opportunities to show appreciation is whenever we have business events and local business events. So really sorry I wasn't able to make that. I am looking forward to the Tacoma Pierce County annual event for its meeting. That's this Friday, so I will be able to participate in that. And of course, looking forward to next week when we have a couple of things that are pretty important, and that would be the commission's interviews. So excited about seeing our residents and citizens step forward to want to participate among our commissions, and excited about being an integral part of that process. That's all I have. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Councilmember McCluskey.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Well, our sheriff, Mr. Troyer, gave me quite a startle when he said that our police chief may not be around for much longer. Hopefully that was tongue-in-cheek and a little bit of lightheartedness, because I don't want our chief to go anywhere anytime soon. He's doing a fantastic job, and I hope he continues for, at least another few years or so before he gets taken and transferred out, or however that works. But I was taken aback by that comment, and so I may need, Mr. Sugg, need a little bit of a follow-up as to what's going on. If there's anything going on behind the scenes, I'd like to know about it sooner than later, especially with a outstanding chief that we have currently. I didn't realize Nuri and his team took the consultant and design under wing to save our citizens thousands of dollars so that we can augment our sewer system. I think that's amazing. That's insightful. And I really want to give a heartfelt thank you for doing that, because sewers, as we all know, has been one of the angst that we were trying to get implemented, and the ARPA funds was just the catalyst for that. So thank you for hearing our angst and going through all the pain and bringing it in-house, and overloading your overloaded workload to save us thousands of dollars. So thank you. And lastly, November 11th, I need to send my heartfelt regrets. I will not be able to attend the Veterans Ceremony. I'm usually there, rain, shine, sleet, or snow, to honor our veterans and that supported our freedoms and the rights of our country. I feel sad about that, but I will be flying in a plane, so my spirit will be with them and everyone who attends, and all the veterans that are alive or have passed on. I will be thinking about them and wishing for a wonderful ceremony, which I know it will be. And hopefully I'll hear a report back for those who attended. And I'll conclude my comments on that.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple quick comments. First, I want to thank the Sheriff's Department for their partnership and thank our citizens who approved the funding so that we could get more sheriffs. And I think that's been a big win for our city, and I really appreciate the Sheriff's Department honoring that by trying to get us our additional officers as fast as possible. Second comment is go vote. About 248 years ago, we signed the Declaration of Independence, and those veterans you're just talking about who went, the first generation of them who fought and sacrificed so that we could have the right to go vote, let's go use it. Thank you.
Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, I'll just echo Mayor Pro Tem's comments. Well said, and I think that's my report.
Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to echo everyone's thanks for our Sheriff's Department and for just the good work that they've done in our community, keeping up safe. Our priority is public safety, and I'm just excited about that contract, getting it done, and the work that they've done for us. So thank you to them. Thank you to Sheriff Troyer for being here this evening, and of course, our wonderful engineering department. thank you for the extra hours. There's lots of times, hours that go unseen, and our residents are better for it. So I want to say thank you. Heartfelt echo the sentiments of Councilmember McCluskey, because extra work is not always easy, as we know, but you have just served our community very well. So thank you for doing it with excellence. Truly appreciate it. I want to say a happy birthday coming up to Miss Ruth of University Place. She turns 100 years old next week, and so I'm going to be honored to be there. I think some of my colleagues will be there as well at the UP Community Connection Place, but to have a resident turn 100 years old and to be able to celebrate her. So Miss Ruth, happy birthday. What a life she has seen. I look forward to being at our Veterans gathering as well on Veterans Day. I also had the opportunity to serve all of the patients in Marybridge Pediatric Hospital on Halloween in partnership with a great University Place-owned business, Magic and the PNW. We went door to door and visited every inpatient child that's at Marybridge Hospital on Halloween and gave them a smile. And so I just want to say thank you to Magic and the PNW. That's a great locally owned business right here in University Place, and to have us bring smiles to those kiddos in the hospital. They couldn't get out, but we went to them, and so I was honored to represent our city and our community and bring a smile to those families and those children. I also echo my colleagues' comments on voting. I think if you haven't voted yet, get it out. You have one more day to do it, and as Mayor Pro Tem Wood said, such an honor and a wonderful way to honor our veterans is to exercise our right to vote, which they fought so hard for. And then finally, our community Thanksgiving dinner is going to be in person again at UP Primary. The last couple of years, due to COVID, we've had to do it drive-through style, but it will be in person, sit down, UP Primary Thanksgiving morning at 11 a.m. If you are wanting a place to go for Thanksgiving dinner, in partnership with UP Refuse and other organizations, we're going to be serving Thanksgiving dinner. So 11 to 1 o'clock Thanksgiving morning for our community. It's a wonderful tradition I'm proud to be a part of, and wonderful time. So if you don't have a place to go on Thanksgiving, please come and see us, UP Primary at 11 a.m. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you. And for me, I ditto everybody that's comments, but I do want to say that for the Veterans Day, which is a very special day in our nation, worldwide actually, there's many countries like France and others that appreciate the veterans of this country for the wars that they fought. Our veterans fought in their country to give them freedom. But I, as a veteran, it's not just a 1 hour ordeal to celebrate. That's important to be there if you can, but the spirit must be there year-round in recognizing veterans and appreciating them and doing what you can. So for me, I serve still our veterans and throughout the year, anytime I can. And so and I encourage everyone here too. So unfortunately, there are several of us that are going to be on a flight to do some business back east, and so but I know that each one of us will serve the veterans all year round in one way or another. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and move on to item number 11. And we're into the study session, and the council will have the opportunity to study, discuss business issues with staff prior to its consideration. Citizen comments is not taken at this time. However, citizens will have the opportunity to comment on the following items at future council meetings. And we'll start with item number 11, which is 2025 property tax levy. I believe this is the first study. This is the first study, and staff is Leslie Blaisdell, our finance director.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. We received preliminary certification of assessed values from Pierce County on October 7th, 2024. On October 28th, they provided us some updated numbers. They're ever changing. We won't get our final numbers until early January, but from the numbers they provided on the 28th, I don't foresee much change. The assessed value for the 2024 levy was $6,943,000,000. The 2024 number that they just provided us which will be used to calculate the 2025 tax levy is $7,213,000,000. It's an increase of about 3.88% over last year's numbers. To implement the voter-approved statutory increase, 1%, it's necessary to adopt an ordinance. I have attached a copy of the draft ordinance to your packet material for your review. This includes, I've included information on the total allowable rate, which includes the increase, the new construction and improvement values, and any administrative refunds calculated. So at this point, our estimated levy amount is $7,104,019.05. The levy lid lift made the already confusing property tax more confusing for us. So I've tried to lay it out. They sent us 8 pages of calculations. So the city essentially has 2 rates that apply to the properties. There's the regular levy rate that applies to all properties, and then there's the levy lid lift rate that applies to the properties without an exemption. So when you look at our numbers, our total levy rate is going to be 98 cents per thousand. But if you have the exemption, your rate would be 67 cents per thousand. I did some research today, just because inquiring minds want to know. There are currently 450 parcels that qualify for the exemption in the city of University Place. I ran the calculation that from that 2024 assessed valuation, it's about $43,144,672 in value for those properties, which is about 6.62% of our total assessed value. So, some fun facts. The levy breakdown, and this is a change from what was in your packet. I had to do some additional research and conversations with the county, because the way they had it on their sheet said this is the rate with an exemption and without. And what it looked like was that there were $4 million of people with an exemption compared to 2 million who did not have the exemption. So what that is the regular levy amount, all properties. So of our levy amount, $4 million of that is for all properties. And then the 2 million is the properties without an exemption. So they pay the additional for the full 98 cents.
So, excuse me, Mayor, if I may.
Okay.
So this is not in our packet, right?
The only change, I marked it in red, is the way I titled it. We titled it in the memo that it was taxpayers with an exemption, taxpayers without. But when I talked to the county, I said there has to be a better description, and it's the regular levy amount and then the levy lid lift amount.
So it's just the title that is different, not the
title. The numbers are all the same.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't bring my computer, so I don't have that visual with me, and I didn't see it in the packet.
I made it red to point out that is a change from what was in your original packet.
Thank you.
So, like I said, our estimate, we had new construction and improvements of $39,000 would generate $39,000 in additional levy, and then the admin refunds is $10,000, which makes our total $7,104,019. Again, the main rate is .98513. Last year's rate per thousand was $1.01, so that is a decrease. And then with the exemption, it's .67078. I did a calculation. If we applied this to the average home in University Place, in 2024, the average home in University Place was valued at $589,403, and they paid $595.30 of their property tax came to the city. Based on the new average home amount that the county provided of $617, with that new rate and the 1% increase, they would be paying $608.56 in property tax to the city. So that's an annual increase of a total of $13.26 is what would increase. And then $10.88 on properties with the exemption is the change. So our next steps are council consideration and the public hearing, which is scheduled for November 18th, 2024. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have on property tax.
So, and this, again, this is a study session, so everything is game, and this is the time to discuss it and figure out what's going on so we can vote in the future. So I saw Councilmembers Worthington hands first, and then Councilmember, who was over here? I saw a finger go up over here.
I can ask the question.
No, it's not your, no, I was just saying whose finger came up. Was that your finger?
No, I try to keep my fingers down.
Okay, so then Councilmember Grassi.
Okay.
Right, you and then Councilmember Grassi.
Oh, excuse me. All right. Thank you. So, Leslie, thank you for the explanation. And you hit on what I wanted to, but I just want to underline it for the public, because when we, of course, we appropriately, we start talking about the increase in valuation is 3.8%. But we have a statutory limit of 1%, and you've explained how that reduces the rate then that is collected. So we've moved from $1.01 or $1.01, whichever it was, down to 98 cents per thousand, essentially, using round numbers. And that can be a little confusing, as you noted in your presentation. But yeah, so I just want to underline that. It all makes sense, but it only took me 35 years. So,
Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Leslie, so much. I know you're doing a lot of work, so thank you. And thank you for that clarification, because it does make more sense.
Yes.
With that, it kind of feels opposite the other way. I may have missed it. $1 2024 for without exemption. What was it in 2024 with? Did you give us that?
Let me see if I put that in there. It was 0.68 cents.
Okay.
So it dropped a penny.
Okay, great. And then last question, just to be a pest, is it possible to get that in our email or in our packet, that last average, that glass graph that you showed, the average? Okay, thank you so much.
Anyone else? Okay, so I'll give some comments. We do this every year, and we used to really struggle with authorizing that tax levy, when really it just should be a default, because for many years, when the city started in 1995, quite a few years, they didn't pass that for a reason. They said no taxes, keep the taxes down, and we were known for, actually it was a mix. People would say, why so many taxes? They were just referring to all the taxes that were being charged by the fire department, by the school levy, and not realizing ours was almost nothing. Years later, about 2010 or so, we finally started passing this. But it accumulates. I don't know how to say it. Maybe Leslie, you might, but it's almost like, which one are you going to take? $1 million after now, or a penny that doubles, and the investment that doubles out of that for a month? It's going to, the penny saved, and it's going to beat that $1 million at the end of the month. And it's the same thing here. The amount that, and you might be able to just explain that a little bit, because I think it's important how that really impacts the future. And while she's doing that, just keep in mind that, just as a refresher for the public, and that is that all the property tax that we receive goes toward public safety. And it's important that we understand that, and all of it, 100% is dedicated, cannot be used for anything else other than public safety. So it's not being squandered on anything else other than that, which is really important, because we just passed a tax levy to be able to keep up with the cost of public safety, and to add additional public safety officers that were taken out back 10 years, 15 years ago. And we're just barely at par. And again, in about 10, 12 so years, we're going to be looking at that dilemma again, just because of inflation. But at least right now, we feel good. We feel that we have the right amount of folks on the street to protect our citizens and our city. So with that, if Ms. Blaisdell, if you can just talk a little bit about how that money accumulates and the importance of it.
the way we've explained it in the past, as you know, this was voter approved that we could increase 1%. We do have to do the ordinance every year to say we're going to do it, but it is something that was voter approved. If the 1% was $40,000, that changed. That at times people have said, oh, we don't want to increase the taxes, we don't want to increase it 40,000, but you're not just losing the 40,000. You lose that 40,000 this year, and then it's not next year. So in 10 years, you're down $400,000. And especially with public safety, where the expenses increase 3% or more, and our property tax only increases 1%, you're going to get that nexus of a crossover. And so when, in the past, when it's been discussed to not take it, we try to say, well, take that small number and multiply it out by the years. You're also not taking it. You're not taking it in the future either. So.
Correct. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so what direction would you like from us, Ms. Blaisdell?
I think I have everything I need. We will bring this back on the 18th with the ordinance for the official approval, and then we'll be able to submit our numbers to the county.
Any objections for staff to do that? None seen? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to, oh, that's why you're staying here. I said, okay, I was going to give you a little time to walk away before I call the next entertainer. But, okay, so the next agenda item is number 12, which is 25-26 biennial budget, capital improvement programs. Again, Ms. Blaisdell, Finance Director.
Good evening again, Mayor and City Council. This is our final study session on the budget. Previous study sessions were held on October 7th, where we discussed the revenues related to the budget. October 21st, we discussed expenditures and community grants and new item requests. And tonight is our final study session to review capital expenditures. We've had 2 public hearings. There will be another public hearing at our November 18th meeting, which is when the budget is scheduled for council consideration. So, pursuant to our policies, we will review the CIP projects that are included in the budget. First up is Parks CIP. There are 2 projects included in the Parks CIP budget. Both are planned for 2025. The first is the Market Square spray pad. Total project cost is $250,000. That is funded 1/2 with Parks impact fees and the other half with real estate excise tax. And then there's the Market Square resurfacing, total project cost of $70,000, also funded 50/50 Parks impact and real estate excise tax. Mayor, I don't know if you want to, since there are 3 separate CIPs, you want to see if there are any questions for each different type, or just go through it all?
Well, I think that's a good idea. So let's just, we don't go back all the way. So any questions? Oh, well, there's plenty here. Councilmember Worthington and then Councilmember Grassi.
You bet. So with the Park CIP and with the splash pad, and actually I'm going to ask the same question of resurfacing. Since we're using Park Impact Fee, my recollection is that needs to increase capacity. It needs to give us something for new residents, new users rather. And I think that's true with REIT as well, though it might be different. There's 2 types of REIT. We have a park-specific REIT too, and I was wondering, a more discrete question is which REIT is it? But more importantly, does this meet the test of new capacity and not a repair?
We believe it did, but we could certainly take a look. The spray pad is being replaced. It's often not able to be used, but I could certainly have Jack look into that and make sure it
So, I mean, you folks are in the best position to make that test. I get to ask the questions. So, anyhow, you can figure that out for us, and thank you. And do you recall which REIT it is for either one of these? If it's the park REIT or the more generalized?
It's the more generalized REIT, capital expenditures.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And maybe Leslie, maybe a question for Jack, but just the resurfacing, is that replacing is that the loose gravel that we have now currently, that English gravel? So that will be and with a new surface?
Yes, either stamped concrete or pavers. It will reduce maintenance costs by getting rid of the gravel, and there's no additional impact to the operating budget.
Okay, thank you so much.
Councilmember McCluskey.
All right, thank you. So my question was similar along the lines of Councilmember Worthington's. You know, what's the new design? You know, what's the new attraction for this? And then also, why the park impact fees? How do we define that as a city park?
We did look into that. It is on the pros plan listed as it's official. I don't believe it officially has the title of a park, but it is included in the pros plan as a recreational
thing.
facility.
So that might be nice to include it in the parks. If we're going to use park impact fees to align with my perception of that, then I wouldn't have, you know, any heartburn using it for that. The other thought is also the use. If it is defined as a park and people are coming to enjoy the splash pad, that it should be also on so they can come and use it. You know, if it's off, no one's going to come and enjoy the park and the new infrastructure that is there. So in the hot summer months, that it should be on and going. It has a nice visual impact, and kiddos will come and enjoy it, you know, like they do at Point Ruston. If it's off, who's going to come? And who knows when it's going to be on. And I know the splash pad was helter-skelter when it was on. There was some infrastructure issues, so I'm glad that's going to be taken care of and developed.
And one of the pieces, and maybe I'm stealing Nuri's thunder, is that the replacement will be recirculating water, where the current one, it's not recirculating. We're just using water. So
I came here up for nothing then, I guess.
yeah, is that right?
That's why I was going to make a point that when we built this spray pad 10, 15 years ago, it met the current standard at that time, but right now we are supposed to have the circulating system. That means we are not really discharging the water to the system. So that's one of the reasons we are going to have to come up with a new design and replace it to be in compliance with the current MPDS.
Okay, thank you.
And then to clarify the design on the pad, we currently have some pavers and then loose gravel. Our goal is to replace some of the gravel right next to the existing pavers with the pavers, and then remove the gravel and then replace most of it with the concrete, stamped concrete, or we are going to have to take a look at those options.
Yeah, it'll be nice to replace some of the gravel. Yeah, and my other thought is, since it is going to be an active park area now, hopefully, what other infrastructure would be needed to augment that activity? I know we have the chairs and the tables and the benches and the fireplace that people can sit on, but is there any other thought about rocks, you know, the rocks are...
Excuse me, I'd like to interrupt, and that is, I'd like to keep this to the budget and not into what's the details, what's going to happen or not happen. And
okay, I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, it really needs to, or we can be going into the weeds here. But that being said, if the interest is there, let's do give some time into some of the details so we can talk about that.
I appreciate that, yes.
Okay, like a study session, but this is not the time, or we won't get through our budget.
Yeah,
Thank
I concur. I apologize again.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I do have one question on this page, and that is, what year would it be done, 25 or 26?
25.
25, okay, thank you. Next page. Oh, excuse me, you still, Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you. And Yuri, thank you for joining us. So I think I'm still left with a question about, will this at the end of the day be able to serve more public than it currently would if it was operating if it was already repaired? So anyhow, and I don't need an answer today, but before we get done with the budget process, it would be good to know that answer. So that's pretty much my clarity.
Okay. Okay, so we can continue. Ms. Blaisdell?
Okay, next is Public Works CIP. There are 9 projects included in the budget. All projects are consistent with goals and policies of the comprehensive plan and are included in the city's 6-year TIP. There's the 35th Street Phase 2 position. You can see in your packet and on the screen the breakdown of which year it's budgeted in and the funding source. That one is additional to a current project that's going on. It's a piece budgeted for 25. It is funded 50% with SWIM and 50% with REIT. We have the Chambers Creek Road roundabout. Also, that one is split between 25 and 26, design in 2025, construction in 2026. It is mostly grant funded. The matching funds are coming from traffic impact fees and real estate excise tax. 40th Street Phase 3 is also design in 25, construction in 26. And the same with the 70th Street Phase 2, design 25, construction 26. We have the Grandview Avenue roundabout at 36th Street. That is a 2025 project, grant funded with the matching funds coming from REIT. The 67th Avenue Phase 3 design is a 2025 project, 297.5 in grant funding, 52.5 in city match from REIT. The 44th Street sidewalk extension design is scheduled for 2025. That one is a project, is that the one with Fircrest? Yes, with Fircrest. So the other government portion, that $100,000 is coming from the city of Fircrest, $20,000 of SWIM and $80,000 of REIT. SMAP, and I'm going to, Storm Management Action Plan, correct? Okay, so a SMAP project. It's the University Park Terrace Pond Rehabilitation. That's $150,000. That is all surface water management fee funded, as well as the Cirque Drive Pond Rehabilitation, $341,120, also funded with surface water management fees.
Anyone on this page? Oh, Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you. Let's see, we've got on this page about something just a little shy of $1 million in REIT, and the previous page another $250,000. Seems like we're leaning a little heavier on REIT this year than I've seen recently. Is that right?
A bit more this year than normal. Our engineers are very good at getting grants, and so yes.
Yeah, and they are very good at getting grants, and it's a wonderful thing, and the whole team has worked that system very well. We're stronger for it. Thank you all for that. So it's just that we need the matching funds. REIT is available. Do you recall what our REIT, we're not using current revenue, we're using ending fund balances. About where are we in REIT?
That one, we try to leave about $600,000 or $700,000 in there. We do project forward in the forecast based on what we think we're going to get in, but when we do the actual budget, it's money that we actually have in hand.
Yeah. And so you're saying the biennium ending fund for 25-26 is about $600,000 or $700,000?
I believe so. I'd have to
okay,
pull
that's
that up.
Good enough for me.
We do. REIT was one that I've been keeping a pretty close eye on because of what's happening in real estate, but we are tracking fairly close to our budgeted numbers so far this year.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple questions. First one on the 44th Street sidewalk extension design. I see the design's projected for 2025, but nothing for 2026. I thought this was fully grant funded, or am I mistaken, or is that for an out year? For the actual construction, not just the design?
I have to double check, but yeah, 44th Street is fully funded, correct, for design and the constructions in conjunction with the application we did with the city of Fircrest.
Okay, so just
the construction is in an out year beyond the
2027.
probably 2027. Yeah.
okay, and then a similar question for the 67th Avenue Phase 3 design. Is the construction for that funded, or is that going to be a future
We do not have a construction funding yet.
Okay.
We only got the design money from the grants.
Got it. Thank
Hopefully
you.
the next round we'll be able to secure some construction money.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, we can move on to the next page.
Okay, lastly is our municipal facilities CIP. There's one project included in the budget for this, and this is an addition to the Public Works expansion project that we're already working on. We needed to add a phase to add some stalls to the men's restroom. In taking a look at it, I believed, and I put the numbers in here, we have the current staffing at the shop is 19 men and 2 women, and there is 1 restroom stall for men at the Public Works shop. So the original documentation for the budget, we included $35,000 for 1 additional stall. Since that was produced, we have increased that to $70,000. They went out and did the measurements, and we can, by taking out a wall to a closet, we can add 2 stalls, which would be much better for the staff down there. So, like I said, what was in the current budget numbers was $35,000, but we have increased that, and I will make that change before the final budget if you all are okay with that.
Councilmember Worthington?
Sorry, not really sorry, just a question there. Thank you. So certainly staff grows, other facility needs grow with staff. Easy enough to understand. How many more female employees will we do have room for before we would need another female stall or 2?
I believe we have 2 female employees down there, and we already have 1 stall. So they just have to take turn, I guess.
So my concern would be we have, I think, 3 Public Works employees that are scheduled potentially in the new budget. If they were all female, would we need to put a stall in?
I do not know.
So I think, if I may, the question is, when is the next number that would impact
Trigger
if you, 3, right, or another stall? Is that 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 more people with females? Well, you might not have to answer. If you can bring that to us.
The answer, but we'll be happy to look into it and get back to you on that one. If there's any requirement.
Yeah.
So, if I may, was that for the purpose of, if we're going to do these now, and we're going to be, let's say that would, another stall was triggered by 1 more female, why not do it because of the opportunity cost?
Certainly we're not going to make a hiring decision based on gender. So whether or not we have room in the restroom for another person of either gender, we want to build capacity with the idea that that won't matter. And I'm just trying to figure out if we've thought through that. That's all I'm saying.
I will also check the building code to make sure if there's any trigger as far as the number of usage for this facilities that requires 1, 2, or 3 stalls. Yes, we'll get back to you on that one.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Councilmember Grassi?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just... has the option been explored about doing an all-gender restroom?
I asked the same question to Jack while we were discussing this. Right now, we are not really adding a new bathroom facility. We are just utilizing the existing facility to make 2 stalls.
I see.
So
okay.
we did not reconsider changing those to unisex or gender.
That wouldn't be appropriate for what we already have existing?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Worthington?
I'm sorry, it is not to monopolize
No
this.
apologies. This is what this is for.
Let me just ask the other question then. How about showers? Do we have showers for both genders, and are they of equal size or capacity?
I won't be able to answer that question. My office down here, up here, Jack would be able to answer that question better, but we'll follow up on that
Okay,
one also.
all right.
Showers.
So it's common for a Public Works crew to actually have an in-place shower. There are some safety issues that come with that.
Definitely.
So it's not an unusual question. Yeah. Okay.
Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just excited about the equity questions that are beginning to come forward for our curiosity. And so with that, I'm just hearkening back to the question of trying to get an idea on what might be the catalyst that suggests an additional stall. I know we had talked specifically about women, but as I look at the numbers here and I see 19 men, and I see 3 as anticipated as a result. I'm just wondering what is really the thought process behind that? And so that can just be one of the things that you can help me with when you bring back the answers to the questions. If we were talking specifically numbers and there was 19 women, what would we anticipate for a catalyst for looking at additional impacts for supporting their needs? So that's just a thought process that I'd like you to consider, and
Sure.
I'm excited about what the answers might be.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next page.
Okay. Lastly, I wanted to go through a couple changes that will occur, that will be included, different from what was provided in the original budget numbers. We have received a Department of Commerce grant to transition residential permit review to digital. So I will be including that as a revenue and an additional $30,000 expense. We need to reduce the SLO reimbursement in our year-end estimates. The original projections, we had hoped everything would get through the school district and the council sooner, and it would have started sooner, but since it's starting in November, we have 2 months of revenue we would not be getting, so we'll reduce that. And then just updating the property tax number to the most recent county estimates for the budget. And then, as I discussed, the additional $35,000 for the restroom stall on the expense side. And then there was one change to add a grant opportunity fund in the general funds to set aside $75,000 for any future grant matches. Council consideration is scheduled for November 18th. We will have one final public hearing.
I might have missed it because I had other things in my mind, but on the $35,000 for the shop expansion, but you were talking about 2 of them, so.
Yeah, the original budget numbers provided was for one stall at $35,000. So this is an addition, the additional $35,000 to bring it to a $70,000 cost.
Thank you.
It's an adjustment to your budget.
Okay, so that's the change. It's an addition to. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on this page? No? Okay, so questions now, right? I do. I'll start and then we'll see who else wants to jump in. We have one more study session on this. This
is the final study session. We have one more public hearing and then council consideration.
So here's what my thought is, because we did have certain questions that can't be answered tonight. And so I'd like to suggest, if it can work, and Steve, I'm going to need your help here, and that is that I think that, having the members that have those questions to make sure it's clear. I know you were taking notes, but have them email you, whoever had those questions that they couldn't answer. Maybe you can summarize it and send it to them and say, is this not capture your question correctly? So you can do your work, make sure you're not following or looking for stuff that it wasn't clear. Number one. Number two is, maybe we can do this via email, and again, I'm looking at Matt. No? Okay, so I'd like to have a suggestion, because we don't have another study session, and as you see, that everything's really tight. So how can we resolve some of these so that we don't spend at the voting, at the consideration, half the night discussing some of these things? Steve, Matt?
You could see a memo theoretically included in the council packet in advance that would address a number of these items to expedite the process. So without taking, unless council wanted to hear directly at the next council meeting from staff addressing those issues, those could be just simply referenced. You have the memo that addresses council's concerns. If there's any questions related to those concerns, happy to circle back to that in the course of council questions, but otherwise, here's the anticipated budget.
Is that satisfactory, Mr. Boykin and Mr. Worthington?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so that's how we'll handle that. As far as, I think Ms. McCluskey had a good point. I think that struck my interest, I'm sure others, about some of the details on some of these projects. I'd like to, if you can, and I'm looking at Mr. Sugg again, He's fiercely just going for it here. But I think that we're not going to have time this year to go into any study sessions for that. But I think that at the beginning of the year, in January, fairly soon, to talk about, to go out, make some comments, have a presentation so we can make comments on some of those projects that we have more interest in others, so we can do that. So I think a study session. So if Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and the City Manager can help me to make sure that we reserve some time sometime in the near future so we can capture that, and so that staff can move forward with some of these projects with some council feedback.
Mayor, if I may make a suggestion.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So I believe later in the coming year, we're going to get a report back on the park, the PROS plan, the Park Recreation Open Space Plan. And in that, there's some proposed capital changes for the Cirque Park, one of which is a splash pad. It sort of dovetails into this, and we might be able to pick that subject up then, because there'll be some public information or opinions about splash pads that might help us. Whether or not what we do with that, who knows? But
good point. And so if you can help again with, okay, we have these items coming up, we can dovetail this discussion into those so we don't create a new one. And those that we cannot dovetail, let's make sure that we have a discussion somehow. Okay? Okay. Fair enough? Thank you. Okay. I think we're done with that, and we'll see you pretty soon on that, November the 18th.
Thank you, Leslie.
And thank you. The next agenda item, number 13, 2025 legislative agenda. This is the second study, and I don't have who's going to present that.
Eric will join us in a little bit, but I'm going to get started here. Mayor and Council, in your packet, this double-sided sheet, subject City University Place 2025 legislative agenda discussion. The policy issues that you see there on the first page contain 9 policies. This is a list that combines, that reflects the AWC priorities, as well as the Council's modified priorities based on the discussions we had at the last meeting. And we went through each of those one by one with suggested wording, and coming out of that, we've developed the list that you see here on those 9 priorities. So I can go through each one and see if there's any questions. However you'd like to do it, Mayor. Or you could just look down the list and then ask questions.
I think that my preferred way, and I can ask the council here, but each one of you has taken interest and brought discussion to the table from the last meeting. I wasn't here, but I looked at it. I think at this point, I feel like each one of you have an interest in something here you can bring up and modify it or make comment on it, just to make sure we're all on the same page, instead of the city manager going to do every one of them, because maybe everybody's happy and we can just move on. We don't have to repeat. So with that, everybody's in agreement. We just feel free to raise your hand to comment on any particular issue you would like to comment at this on the item here. Councilmember Worthington. That's fine.
Leading the charge on. So thank you, Mayor. I think that's a good suggestion, and that makes sense to me. These look good to me. I've had a chance to look through them, and they certainly track with my recollection of the meeting. There was one item on number 3 I wanted to see about a clarification on. It's not an item that I had suggested, so I just want to put it on the table and see if people would consider it. But it is, number 3 is having to do with child care and removing land use barriers that limit development of child care centers. I wanted to suggest that we insert the word somewhere in there, remove state-imposed land use barriers, because this whole focus of legislative actions is on the state, not on other areas. So I just wanted to throw that out there to see what thoughts were about that. So
I'll start with that, and then we can just, we'll make this informal, and that is that as one stops, just be courteous, that let somebody stop and, kind of start, and we'll figure that out. I think that's a very good modification of this because it is about the state. We have been very vocal, this council has, about the state being in our business about anything like ordinances and laws and all that, and now we're saying, oh, well, the city needs to be given permission to do this or that. I think putting this really says it's about you and what you've imposed that should be removed. So I would, unless there's some legal reason not to, then I would support that. Anybody else?
I concur because actually it's going to the state legislator.
Right.
And it's not going to federal or county, so that would be a little more specifically driven, so I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
I concur.
Okay, I think we have enough acknowledgement here at the council diocese, so if you can make that change. And if you have, Matt, if you have some suggestion about even strengthening that?
Just so council kind of knows the end game, and maybe that's helpful to work your way backwards, if you will. What you're seeing in the course of this memo will likely form the nucleus of the resolution that council will be asked to act upon. There may be some light edits just to make sure tenses and grammar and all that other stuff flows, so it looks good for council action and it's a coherent document. But largely what you're seeing right now is you're probably at the 90-95 percentile mark of what you'll actually see in the resolution. So we're making a note that the state imposed barriers will be in there. If there's other things that council notes along the way, we're taking note of that to include that in the resolution that council will take action on.
Okay. I do have comment, but I want to let council members, any other comments about your particular item? Okay, so I'll go ahead and I think they're all great because those are the concerns and needs and so forth, but it's just understanding the politics up there about what we can do and how much we can say and request. This is a long list, and I, as a which I have many times before, and as some of you have too, show up at the legislators to really say this is what we really want. I'll never, and they give you 3 minutes. I or any one of you, I can't speak for you, but I think I can. You won't go through all these items in those 3 minutes. It won't happen. So I would only say, can we? I know everybody has their preference of what's important, but it certainly would be helpful for those that are speaking with the legislators and say, UP, what is it that you really want that's really important? Because they're going to look at all these items, and it's just going to be massive. So I would, as someone that will be before them on an individual basis, I would like to have, the top 4 or 5 that are just really something we really don't want to miss. For example, there's AWC-supported agenda items. Well, that's already being promoted by many people. I would focus on UP's specific, just as an example. So I'd like to get some feedback on that.
Okay. Mayor, I concur with you on what you're stating, that we need to make a more concise list of our priorities. You mentioned AWC. We have the South Sound Housing Affordability Partnership that we could probably take off the list because they are supporting our endeavors there through the executive board. So that would make it a little more succinct, because certainly we don't want them to look at number 6 and say, well, we're supporting that, so let's move on to another city.
And again, it might be that we don't take it off because we want to support those things, but we can say, the first 5 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 priorities. The top 5 is our priorities, city specific, and we're supporting these other parties that support our needs in our city too. Those are still on there. So I'm not suggesting we take it off, but
yeah, I was thinking how we put together the small pamphlet, and on one side saying we support AWC and SHAPE, and then here's ours. Next page is our cities. It's a fold out. as our city's priorities. So they understand that we're supporting these organizations, but then here is our specific city-oriented priorities, you know, how we design that pamphlet.
I would support that, meaning that we still say we support these organizations that are supporting this, and they're all going to be hearing it from them, as you well know. And I think that UP specific, we separate that they're not supporting for it because it's not their business. And I think it'll be great, because when we get before them, they're going to say, what is it that you want? And we should really highlight that. So anybody, any comments? Or Councilmember Worthington?
Yeah. So one quick thought is, when we're talking about UP specific, we have our capital projects list. There's 4 projects there. That's very specific. Is that what you have in mind, or were there some policy pieces that were particularly
only if the I didn't see any personally that was UP specific. These are all being supported by so many different, organizations or otherwise that are related to, if they pass something like any of this policy specific, is because it really does enhance many other cities other than UP.
And you just never know what the hot topic is going to be. You think it's one thing and it turns to be another, but if it comes up and we have something near it that's on our list, we go, we'll join that priority. But yeah.
So yeah.
I've gone a high, medium, low, but I'm not sure that's really all that meaningful. I think it's really more opportunistic is what it ends up being. If the opportunity is there, the legislature is moving in a direction, or may move in a direction that is beneficial to one of these, we move that up the list because the opportunity is there. Otherwise, we seek funding for the things we're seeking funding for, and we know the reasons why for all of that.
Okay, we're good with that then. Councilmember Wood, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I like the thought process behind focusing on UP specific versus what other people are supporting. I would actually bounce these off of our council goals for the next biennium. For example, I believe housing is one of our council goals, so I think supporting housing should be something we emphasize even if it's not our project originally, because that will influence how we do it ourselves within our city. You can draw some correlations maybe between recreation and senior transportation, things like that. So I don't want to de-emphasize something that we have actually part of our own council goals for the next biennium. That's the point I'm trying to make.
On that, Mayor Pro Tem, I like this project, but that's very specific and it's about money, and that's all we need. This other one, if we have extra time, we can maybe do, but there's going to be a lot of action on the side from many other players on that. And I know it's important, but when you're in there with our own legislators now, there's other opportunities that we'll bump into people, whether it be at the reception or whatever, or just ourselves out here. We can continue to support any one of those other policy decisions, but I like the idea of these capital ones because they're money, and that really, nobody else is going to be promoting that except us. So if we can, I like that because of that card. If you're familiar with the card, it's not like a big page, and they don't want that. They tell you, don't bring me pages of stuff. So I like the fact of this 5, and they understand money. Oh, okay, this road, especially our legislators, they know this city like the back of their hand. Oh, yeah. Oh, so you need money for that, and they can actually say, yeah, you really need money for that because I traveled that road or whatever. So I like to, move forward with a direction that they do that in that fashion. Boykin, do you have any comment?
I do like the expectation that we're trying to see what might elevate and impact specifically City of University Place and obviously our residents and citizens. But as I was thinking about what might be a distinction, something that would be, if you will, just UP centered, I started looking at really the expectation of enhancing senior transportation options. Then I started thinking the likelihood that would be something that would be supported from our legislature. And so it starts suggesting sort of a catch-22. I really felt an affinity with Mayor Pro Tem when he talked about, well, we do have our own expectations for our council goals, and so do we really want to unintentionally diminish the expectation for housing and impact, even though it makes sense that we would position this goal with shape as well as looking at other ways in which other people could sort of carry the water for us in these impacts. So I'm still struggling with how to identify that, but I'm really trying at this point to see what might be UP-centric that really could be UP solo when I look at or reevaluate these particular opportunities.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of other players in any one of those policy decisions, even the senior and all that. They're not going to entertain that just for one city. If that gets entertained for many other cities, or saying something, or an organization like Transits or anything else. So
Age in Place, for example, comes to mind, an extension of what that experience might be. So
yeah, and I don't think they're going to go away. If we see something in policy that really we push, we can do that. But I think this money part, these projects are really the key, because it's our chance to get that money. We're not asking for money in the other way. We're asking in a roundabout way to get money to Transit to do this kind of stuff. But it's not. This is a hard thing to do, to take money. You know, everybody's competing for that money, and our focus should really be going for that money. And our staff needs that help. And this is our one chance when we go up there. Whoever takes the time to speak to the legislators. And it's important that we are all on the same page, because if if 5 of us go at different times and talk to them, and you're saying, well, this is our priority, and this month, that doesn't really look good. You know, it sends a really different message. So, okay, Councilmember Grassi.
Thank you. I concur with the layout of the funding piece and the dollars, and making that an emphasis, and I appreciate working in tandem with that. I do think that these other ideas were all thoughtfully considered, and they also show individual passions and individual subject matter expertise. So I do think they have merit to bring up in a total package. They might not be all weighted evenly or the same, but I wouldn't be in favor of editing completely, just for funding opportunities. I think that there can be a way where we can have both and we can agree on our focuses. However, I know that we are 7 individuals with 7, we'll all have different opportunities to be speaking to our legislators at different times. So I do think it's worth the effort when we're in these conversations to, as to Councilmember Worthington's point, to see how the trend is going as well, to see, if there's something that we can loop in with another jurisdiction or another thought process. But I don't think it's worth deleting all of our efforts.
I wasn't saying to delete any of it.
Okay.
It was just the focus in our specific meetings up there was to focus on the projects and not, because you don't have time to discuss all of those, even if you just pick 2 or 3 of them. And I have to tell you, being at this game for many years, it really means if 5 of us take interest in you talking to our 2 legislator and senator, and we have different priorities, it doesn't go well. I can tell you, they'll notice.
Yeah.
So we have to really come down and to what is it that we want to talk to those legislators as our real priority for University Place in those 3 minutes. Actually, it's more like 1.5 minutes, because they want to talk. So I'm telling you, you're barely going to get any. If we're like, if we even talk about all of these.
Don't underestimate my ability to talk in the time frame. I'm just saying.
I'll give you credit, but
don't underestimate an Italian.
I'm just saying, I've been at this game a long time. I don't care who you are, you're not going to do it. Period.
Well, I think the capital projects are more definitive, they're more tangible, you can put a price tag on it, and that's easier for the legislators to grasp and go forth with. So that should certainly be highlighted, because they're at times looking where to put money. What does University Place need? Here's the funds, go forth, UP, and do it. Do your grant matches or whatever. So that is something that I think energizes and not only energizes, but there's synergy working in tandem with the city and grants, and there's their portion of the state funding that's coming in. So I think that is the sizzle to our legislative priorities. This other piece is more soft. You can't put a dollar amount on. You can't really identify, well, what actually do you want University Place? So let's take what I suggested as the enhancing the senior transportation with funds and programs. And so what is it? If I was a state legislator, go, well, that sounds really cool, partnerships and things. Well, what define that for me? So I think if we can't really define this piece to it, we may not have it on our legislative priorities because we can't talk about it in details. So because we haven't talked about it as a council as a whole, as I'm re-looking at this tonight, because I know in my mind what I want, but is it what the other 6 of you want, which is really important to put in here. So can I go out and talk to our state legislator about it? No, I can't. So maybe that we look at these 9 pieces in those lens to see if it's really realistic. It's really nice and strategic, but is it really realistic? And if it's not realistic, then we should put it off on the sidebar and bring it back later on in 2025 to identify and discuss it a little more if it's salient with the rest of the council members to do that. The other one is the additional funding for municipal criminal justice and assistant account and local funding. That's money. You identify the amount. What is it that the municipal justice assistant account really needs to help augment their services? So I think that's a viable one to keep. Programs to reduce juvenile crimes and yada yada on that one with behavioral health. I think they can identify with that. That's been discussed in all sorts of different circles through our school districts as well, and some of their items there. But can we, as the University Place, identify, well, what sort of programs and treatment centers do you want in University Place for it? Is that what you're looking at? So I see that some of these need to be discussed further. And let's see, I think the removing of the state land barrier uses, we need to talk about, well, what are those barriers? And I'm sure Councilmember Grassi has an angle on that and a lot more information than I do in regards to that. But we do know there is limited, and we're at a crisis for child care centers and facilities in University Place to help support and augment those, identify what those are. Say, well, this is what we need to encourage training of the workers, or encourage local centers to expand and develop further. There was talking about another location close to our Curtis Junior High to augment some of those before and after school care programs. Maybe to funding to purchase something like that, and then retrofitting so that there is a nonprofit partnership that could come on and take place to help support that. I'm just brainstorming out there. So once we adopt certain these soft, intangible things, we need to bring it back to a study session so we can further define and identify, so I can, as a council member, be intelligent and be able to speak to the benefit of the city council's wishes and desires, which I really don't know what they are right now.
Okay. Before I go to Mayor Pro Tem, is that just be considerate about the process when we go and tell these legislators, they're thinking about their next move. Who do I take your specific University Place concern or ask? What is your ask? And where can they take it to? Those policy things is, when it's about money, they know exactly where to take that to and promote it and try to, fight for that penny for UP. If that's something tangible they can actually do. These other ones, knowing the process, they're going to give it to some legislative. It says, how does this work with some of these big players that are asking for almost similar to that? Because, that's most of this, if they really put their strength and influence, it's got to be where it's more than just UP. Most of those are policy decisions that must impact many other areas, or at least a region. It's not going to be they're not going to go to the mat fighting for any of those just for UP. The other thing is money. If there is money involved, it's bigger players that are probably going to capture and fight for that money so they can distribute it. We get a lot of money from distribution from other players that get money for that. So again, I'm really concerned on that, and so I'd like to be on the same page, or at least have them, having some nods or give some direction to staff how to come back. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So, a few thoughts. I'm seeing kind of our 9 policy issues and financial requests, and seeing basically 3 categories of stuff. Category 1 is what you talked about, the money, the financial projects that we're looking for, specific grants. Continuing, looking for specific funding and funding sources for projects that benefit UP. I agree that should be set aside and emphasized. Of the 9 policy issues identified up front, I think 3 are specific enough that our legislatures can do something with it. Those 3 that I'm seeing right now are the one on REIT. That's very specific. A transparent and public process for state appropriation of opioid settlement fund. That's pretty specific, saying, hey, just whatever you do it in the open. And then item number 3, by adding the state-imposed land use barriers. I don't know exactly what they are. If we can pin that down exactly what we're looking for, I think that might be a little more helpful. These other ones here, I like them, but in conjunction with Councilmember McCluskey, they're a bit aspirational. They're not specific. I wouldn't say de-emphasize them, but if I go to one of our state legislatures and say, hey, I want additional funding for municipal criminal justice, how does that apply to us? What do we do with that? I can say I support that if somebody else is asking for it, and I think we should say that we support the idea, so that if there's an AWC or other statewide project saying, yes, let's do this, our city's name is added to the list saying we support this along with these other 50 cities. But I think we should emphasize the ones that are specific, and we can ask for a specific action. Thank you.
Before I go to Councilmember Worthington, we do have a request online. Eric, I think you requested to be online.
Yes, thank you,
Will
Mayor.
you introduce yourself for the record?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. My name is Eric Faison. I'm Assistant City Manager for the City of UP. I just wanted to quickly remind you that as part of this process, we have Councilmember Fleming, who participated as part of the AWC's more broader process, because we understood that a lot of the policy issues were very difficult for us to advocate for. And so we were mainly focused on taking the AWC and other agency positions where they have lobbyists and trying to see how those relate to our priorities. As far as the capital budget items, those all require separate applications that go through our legislators. So those will be addressed somehow if we submit an application and our legislators support it. So the policy side of things really are, at least how we discussed them before, broader things or broader issues with some UP application. So our intention would be, and I would encourage you not to be overly concerned how exactly the card is created. We have wonderful talent in-house that helps us with that. To focus on if there's something that you really want us to advocate for that happens to be part of a larger issue that's being brought up. Because, again, we're not necessarily advocating for some of these independently, because odds are, and you've found this to be the case, we're not very successful at it. So I guess I would just encourage you to go ahead and keep the 9 on the list. Let us figure out how, as the legislative session comes forward, we will emphasize those things that seem to have traction or not traction relative to the policies that you guys have come up with. And if there is something very specific on the list, then we can bring those up in the one-on-ones and see if we can make any progress on those, but recognize that the chances are not very good for us as opposed to the capital budget items.
Okay. Councilmember Worthington.
Thank you, Mayor. So Eric, while we have you here, could you remind us which one of these are essentially the AWC priority list?
Sure. The first one, the second one, the fifth one, and the seventh one.
Thank you. So we're carrying, in a sense, I think the term might be carrying water for others on those. And by the way, good jacket. And so that's one of the reasons they're on here, and we have determined there's some benefit potentially for us, but these are not, we're not proposing we're the focus of these. We're part of a team effort. Okay, thank you. That's really all I wanted to point out.
On that line, what about number 6, which is SHAPE does their own also, and it consists of several. So how do you see that? I mean, that's not UP specific to a certain degree. And that goes with number 9. County, I mean, a transparent public process, I mean, it's been set. So just help us out here. Why would that that's anything that's UP specific? It is, but we can't do anything about it.
Right. I guess I was suggesting not to eliminate priorities that you guys went through, you evaluated, you used your legislative process to conclude. I guess you haven't adopted it yet, but you went through quite a detailed discussion about each of them. And I don't think there's any harm in including those. Lakewood, for example, I think has a 20-page document. So yours are relatively concise as these sort of things go. I don't think you need to eliminate it from your document and eliminate it from your resolution unless it's something the majority of you absolutely don't support. But if it's there, I think it's just a matter of expectations. Okay. Just be clear that these policy issues aren't our strong point. Our strong point are the capital budget items, and the capital budget items will be handled through actual applications. The policy ones, if something comes up in the legislative session and we have an opportunity to testify or an opportunity to submit comment or an opportunity to talk to our legislator and it relates to something that is on your list, then that's when we would take advantage of that. It's not as if we have to narrow everything down to something that we're going to be lobbying for, because that's not happening.
So help me out here, Eric, and that is, Denise had a very, very good point, and that is, Councilmember McCluskey, that is that some of these, if we kept it there and we, Senator, I mean, we really are pushing, we really need housing, expand housing affordability, supply, and sustainability, and through these partners. I think most of them in my conversations before, many times, is, well, how do you see that? Well, how does UP see them doing any more than they're already doing? I have no clue how to answer that. Or a transparent and public process for state programs. I say, well, what is it that you don't like, you guys as a city? Because it's not me, and nobody should be speaking for themselves. It should be a council. We have never had those conversations to say, what is it that's not working, and we need that change. And then we've talked to, one of the things, have you talked to the organization? Have you talked to whoever's doing the settlement, like the county and that committee, and they're not listening? What's going on? So I don't want to be put in an embarrassing moment not knowing. So unless you have a very specific bullet points why we're asking for them to look at this a little bit closer, I can't speak to it. Steve, go ahead.
Thank you. But some of us can. So number 9, I can speak to. That's coming out of the committee I serve on. Lakewood was an advocate for that, and I explained to this council at the last meeting or a previous meeting some of the justification for that. So it's a team, not just one. And we can take some of these on. There are things here I can't speak to, certainly, and I don't necessarily understand several of these, but that particular one, I can help out on that one. But there's something else. Someone else can help out.
Speak to Steve Worthington.
Yeah. So there we are.
Well, that's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
We have a specialist that is on our committees, But you mentioned you don't know about the other ones. Do we have a specialist in this, as council members, that can speak specifically in any of those that we're saying we want to talk about? Please say so I can put your name on it so, Mayor Pro Tem?
I have a thought. I'm not saying I'm a specialist. Just clarify that real quick. I think the goals are good ones. I don't see any reason to change them, and going along with what Mr. Faison was saying about these, I think we can go ahead and support them now, and then I don't think it would be too much to ask for a bullet point cheat sheet for as the legislative session starts to gel, come together, what's going on, that says, hey, under goal number 3, this is specifically what we're asking for. This is a bill that's before the legislature that would support what we're trying to do. And if we can get that kind of cheat sheet as the time develops, I can support this now and wait for the details later so I can talk intelligently. That would work for me.
Yes, Councilmember McCluskey.
I'm going to tandem off of Mayor Pro Tem. Once we know the details, then we know these things are coming up in committee or our senator or state legislators. We as council members could lobby. We could send them emails, give them a phone call, track it in committee, submit our comments, even go down to Olympia and testify as needed. So I think that would really augment, we're talking about regional and state influence, that would just really augment our position in here if all 7 council members can come to the same plate, so to speak, and then they'll have 7 comments coming on these certain legislative priorities for policy issues. I think that would be very powerful.
Well, I think those are very great suggestions to go by, Eric. But if you feel like you or your staff cannot help us with any bullet points or summarizing what we should be, back in our request here for, you should say so in the front, because if you can't do it, I don't know if any council member can do it. So, and we shouldn't have it on here. I just don't put us in a situation where we have it in here because council members want to, and you're saying, I don't have any help for you.
Well, some of these items were brought forward by council members, so I assume that they will be able to help us in some of them. But I do think that, particularly the ones that are AWC or SHAPE or whatever, we will certainly be able to. The lighting in here. I apologize for that. It's all light sensitive, movement sensitive. Certainly, we'll be able to. I would say let me take a stab at some of these, and as the session goes on, we'll see if there are any bills that are relevant towards them and go from there. But I wouldn't suggest that we eliminate any at the current time.
Okay. Any other comments and as how to move forward? I'm trying to see, I think we have, what I've heard is that keep, those that are not AWC, because those are going to be spoken for and lobbied for and advocated for extensively. The other ones that we say that we really want to move for our situation, that we'll have staff write up some kind of bullet points to educate us. We can probably ask them questions one-on-ones. What do you mean by this? So we can be educated and then move forward from that. And I hope that you have answers for all of them. I really believe if you don't have any answers from any of them, even though then that particular council member that brought it up. If you don't have any, I need that council member to write up the summary and bullet points for us. Somebody has to. If not, we need to take it out. Okay. And just real quick, because it is, like number 4, programs, partnerships, and funding to enhance senior transportation options. Well, number 1, we have transits. We're not going to start a new transit organization. So the transit that's there, it must be Pierce Transit. I don't know. Tacoma? We don't have it. So what organization is in charge of that for our area, and what was it that they were doing or not doing that we're asking for programs or partners and funding that they're not supplying? I mean, I know these guys, they're smart, they're going to ask those questions. So I'd like to know those answers. Okay.
That was mine that I brought up.
Go ahead.
For that. It's, for example, Community Connection Place with some of the state transportation funding could be augmented even through Pierce Transit to increase the capacity and the capability to get seniors not only to their medical programs, but also to social events and activities. There is enhancements that could be used for that. And just so if you're a senior and you're housebound, it may not be taking the senior somewhere, but it could be bringing let's say a meal or some sort of social interest to the seniors or the seniors' community centers as well, to enhance and encourage their programs for senior specific. And that will take in the transportation of the goods and services, as well as the transportation of the individual seniors as well. They do have the shuttle, and they're also augmenting now with smaller cars to transport seniors, but it's not enough. They need more capacity.
What we don't know is what is transit. There are also an organization that ends up there. What are they doing, and what are they asking for from legislators surrounding senior transportation? Because we don't want to be saying, well, we need more of this or whatever. I don't even know what programs, partnerships, funding that we need to ask. That's transit that needs to tell us. Anyway, that's just a problematic one for me. So.
I can define that a little bit better for you later.
Councilmember Boykin.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear about what Mr. Faison was saying. I think, and I hope this isn't misstating what he was suggesting, but it sounds as if we're not at a point where we have to be as definitive with any of these 9 at this point. There's a way forward that we can begin to embrace, whether it's some council members speaking up by their own affirmation that they can provide some summary, and then I believe I heard Mr. Faison said that he'd take a stab at this as well. So I don't think we need to debate any of the 9. I think we've got a way forward that makes us at least be able to move forward. And I think why that really makes sense is I took Council Member Worthington's word that he'd be able to articulate where we are with number 9. We moved on, so I just don't want to see us try to see if we can hear articulation about each point that we may have challenge with. So I think Mr. Faison again gave us a way forward. Again, I don't want to misspeak, but if we have, then I think we ought to see if we can draw a conclusion of where we're at in the study process at this point.
Okay. Well, I think there's been some great comments. I feel that there's enough direction, even though it's kind of mixed up, but I think there's enough direction for staff. Steve, Eric, do you feel like you have enough direction about how we chatted and discussed this?
I do, and what Councilmember Boykin was talking about is kind of what I was hoping you guys would do.
Okay. And any other comments? But I think it's pretty clear. It didn't seem like a conversation, but I think we got there. Okay. Good. All right. Thank you. And with that, I have to see what's anything left here. No. So we have. I'm adjourning the meeting.
You recycle?
Nice.
All right. Back in it. And she will be recycle this because she.
I know.
You might ask me after Charleston.
I haven't, but those would look great with my, well, yeah, okay. Let's try it.